The stars twisted and bent as space itself tore open like fabric. From the dark wound in reality, something huge began to emerge. First came the nose of the ship, then more and more metal appeared. The vessel kept coming and coming, until finally, the entire ship was visible against the black of space. Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of the Daehan Victory and watched the stars settle back into their normal positions. The jump through hyperspace was complete. They had arrived at the Kepler 442 system after traveling for 3 months from Earth. "Jump successful, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho from his station. His fingers moved quickly over the control panels. "All systems are working well. No damage to the ship." Li Wu-jin nodded and looked out at the new star system. This was humanity's first time visiting this part of space. The star was yellow like Earth's sun, and several planets moved around it in slow circles. Somewhere in this system, their long-range sensors had detected signs of intelligent life. "How big are we talking here?" asked Park Ji-soo from the communications station. She was a small woman with short black hair, but her voice carried authority throughout the bridge. Kim Min-ho checked his screens again. "The Daehan Victory is 15 kilometers from nose to tail. Our escort ship Seoul's Pride is 2 kilometers long. Both ships are operating normally." The captain walked to the main viewing window. Outside, he could see the Seoul's Pride keeping pace with them. The smaller warship looked tiny next to the Daehan Victory, but it was still a powerful vessel with enough firepower to protect a small planet. "Sir, I'm getting readings," called out Chief Science Officer Nam So-young from her station. "There are definitely artificial objects in this system. Lots of them." "Show me," Li Wu-jin ordered. The main screen lit up with a map of the solar system. Hundreds of small dots appeared scattered throughout the space between planets. Some moved in regular patterns while others stayed still near the larger worlds. "Those look like ships and space stations," said Park Ji-soo. "We found them. We found aliens." A quiet excitement filled the bridge. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found another intelligent species. The crew had trained for this moment, but it still felt unreal. "What are their ships like?" asked the captain. Nam So-young studied her readings carefully. "The largest ones are about 800 meters long. Most are much smaller. Some are only 50 or 60 meters. They seem to use different technology than us, but I can tell they have engines and weapons." Li Wu-jin thought about this information. The alien ships were much smaller than human vessels. The Daehan Victory could hold dozens of their largest ships inside its cargo bays. But size didn't always mean strength. These aliens might have weapons that humans had never seen before. "Any signs that they know we're here?" he asked. "Not yet, sir. We're still quite far from the main planets. But our arrival through hyperspace probably made a lot of noise. They'll notice us soon." The captain turned to his communications officer. "Ji-soo, prepare the first contact package. Mathematics, pictures, music, everything we planned." Park Ji-soo's hands flew over her controls. "Ready to broadcast, sir. The message explains who we are and that we come in peace." "Good, but don't send it yet. Let's get a better look at what we're dealing with first." The Daehan Victory moved deeper into the system at a steady pace. It wasn't rushing, but the huge ship covered distance quickly. Behind it, the Seoul's Pride followed like a faithful guardian. As they traveled, more details became clear. The aliens had built cities on 3 different planets. Their ships moved in organized patterns, suggesting they had military forces and trade routes. This was not a simple civilization. These beings had mastered space travel and built an empire across multiple worlds. "Captain, I'm seeing movement," reported Kim Min-ho. "Several of their ships are changing course. They're moving toward the edge of the system." "Toward us?" "It looks that way, sir, but they're keeping their distance, still millions of kilometers away." Li Wu-jin studied the tactical display. The alien ships were indeed moving, but they weren't approaching in an attack formation. They seemed cautious, almost careful. "Maybe they want to talk," suggested Park Ji-soo. "This could be their version of a greeting party." "Or a warning party," added Kim Min-ho. "Those ships are armed." The captain made his decision. "All stop. Hold our position here. Let them come to us if they want to. Jisoo, send the first contact. Message now. Sending now, sir. The message went out in all directions. Radio waves carrying mathematics, pictures of humans, and samples of human music. It was designed to show that humanity was intelligent and peaceful. Minutes passed. Then hours. The alien ships continued to move, but they didn't come closer than 5 million kilometers. They seemed to be watching and waiting. Are they responding to our message? Asked Lee Woo-Jin. Park. Jisoo shook her head. Nothing yet, sir. But they might need time to understand it. We're dealing with completely different minds here. Dr. Bae Sunmi, the ship's anthropologist, joined the conversation. She had been studying the alien movements from her station. Captain, I think they're afraid. Afraid? Of what? Of us. Look at their formation. They're staying far away. But they have ships positioned all around us. That's not how you greet someone. That's how you watch a dangerous enemy. Lee Woo-Jin considered this. But we sent a peaceful message. Maybe they don't understand it yet, or maybe... She paused, looking at the size comparison on her screen. Maybe they're scared because we're so much bigger than they are. It was true. The Daehan Victory was 20 times larger than their biggest ships. To the aliens, humanity's vessel must look enormous and threatening. Sir, I'm getting something, said Park Jisoo suddenly. It's a transmission from them, very weak, but it's definitely artificial. What does it say? I'm not sure yet. The computer is trying to find patterns. It might be a language or it might be mathematics like our message. As the hours passed, more alien ships appeared. They came from all 3 inhabited planets, joining the growing fleet that surrounded the human vessels at a careful distance. But they didn't attack and they didn't run away, they just watched. How many ships are out there now? Asked the captain. Kim. Minho counted the dots on his screen. Over 300, sir. And more are coming. It looks like they're gathering, their entire space fleet, to fight us? I don't think so. If they wanted to fight, they would have attacked by now. I think they're just curious and scared. Lee Woo-Jin walked back to the viewing window. Somewhere out there, alien minds were trying to understand what humanity was and what it wanted. The first contact between species was never simple in the stories, and it wasn't simple now. Keep monitoring their transmissions, he ordered, and keep our weapons powered down. We don't want to give them any reason to think we're hostile. Yes, sir. The Daehan Victory continued its slow journey through the Kepler 442 system, carrying 50,000 humans toward their first meeting with alien intelligence. Behind them, hundreds of small alien ships followed at a distance, like nervous animals watching a giant that had wandered into their territory. Neither side knew what would happen next. Fleet Commander Vexhai of the Cathari species stared at the display screen with growing horror. The massive alien vessel hung in space like a floating mountain made of metal. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence as his mind tried to process what he was seeing. How big did you say it was? He asked his science officer. 15,000 meters long, Commander. Maybe more. Our sensors keep getting confused by its size. Vexhai's claws clicked against his command chair. In all his years of warfare against the Vrelnari and Poskan fleets, he had never seen anything like this. The largest Cathari dreadnought was only 600 meters long. This alien ship was 25 times bigger, and the smaller one, 2,000 meters, still bigger than our greatest warships. The fleet commander's breathing became rapid and shallow. The alien vessels were not just large, they were impossibly large. How much firepower could such massive ships carry? How many troops? How much armor plating? Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Supreme Arbiter Koldes, reported his communications officer. The main screen changed to show the image of a Vrelnari leader. Koldes had purple skin and 4 arms with large black eyes that showed obvious fear. Behind him, other Vrelnari officials moved in panic. Fleet Commander Vexhai, said Koldes, have you seen what has entered our space? Yes, Supreme Arbiter. The Cathari Council is in emergency session. What do the Vrelnari make of these ships? Our science teams believe we are looking at vessels from a Type 3 civilization, beings who can build ships larger than our cities. The energy readings coming from their main vessel are beyond our ability to measure. Vexhai felt his heart sink. A Type 3 civilization meant aliens who could use the power of entire stars. Being so advanced that the 3 local species would be like insects to them. Have they made any demands? He asked. They sent some kind of transmission. Mathematics and pictures. Our language experts are studying it now. But Vexhai, I think it might be a surrender demand. A surrender demand? What else could it be? They arrive in ships that could destroy our entire combined fleet. Then they send us a message. They're telling us to give up. On the bridge of his own ship, Vexhai turned to his tactical officer. How many vessels do we have in the area now? 312, sir. Ships from all 3 species, but sir, even if we had 3,000 ships, we couldn't fight something that size. The fleet commander knew this was true. The Cathari, Vrilnari and Poskan races had been fighting each other for over 200 years. Their wars had produced the best military technology the 3 species could build. But all their weapons were designed to fight ships similar to their own, vessels a few hundred meters long. What kind of weapons would you need to damage something 15 kilometers long? How thick would its armor be? How many defensive systems? Would it carry? Sir, called his science officer. I'm getting more detailed readings from their main vessel. There are entire sections that look like cities. Cities? Yes, sir. I'm seeing what appear to be residential areas, recreational facilities, even what might be agriculture sections. This isn't just a warship. It's like they built an entire world that can travel through space. Vexhai's fear grew deeper. These aliens didn't just have powerful warships, they had mobile worlds. They could travel anywhere in the galaxy and bring their entire civilization with them. No planet would be safe from such beings. Commander, I'm getting reports from the outer colonies, said another officer. The humans on Mining Station 7 and Research Outpost 12 are requesting immediate evacuation. They say they'd rather abandon their posts than face capture by aliens this powerful. Similar reports came from across the system. Civilian ships were fleeing from the outer planets toward the more populated inner worlds. Military commanders were ordering their families to underground shelters. The 3 alien races were preparing for the worst invasion in their history. On the Vrilnari homeworld, Supreme Arbiter Koldes addressed the planetary council. The great chamber was filled with frightened leaders from across Vrilnari space. Fellow Vrilnari, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. We face the greatest threat our species has ever known. These aliens possess technology beyond our understanding. Their smallest escort vessel is larger than our most powerful dreadnought. Council member Rythal stood up. What do our scientists say about their capabilities? The power output from their main ship is equivalent to our homeworld's entire energy grid. Just their engines produce more power than our largest cities consume. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it easily. Then why haven't they? We don't know. Perhaps they want us alive for some purpose. Perhaps they plan to use us as slaves or study subjects. Meanwhile, on the Poskan capital ship Proud Defender, Captain Lorgenti studied the translated message from the aliens. The mathematics was simple enough. Basic numbers and equations that any space-traveling species would understand. The pictures showed the aliens themselves. They looked strange. Tall creatures with pale skin, small eyes, and no visible claws or natural weapons. They seemed almost fragile compared to the 3 local species. But appearances could be deceiving. Any race that could build ships this large must be incredibly dangerous. Captain, said his science officer, I've been analyzing their message. They claim to come in peace. Of course they do, replied Lorgenti. What conqueror announces their violent intentions before they attack? They want us to lower our defenses. But, sir, what if they really are peaceful? Lorgenti pointed at the tactical display. Does that look peaceful to you? A ship 15 kilometers long, bristling with weapons? A vessel that could carry millions of soldiers? No, science officer. This is an invasion fleet, and that message is their demand for our surrender. The Poskin captain opened a communication channel to both Fleet Commander Vexhai and Supreme Arbiter Koldes. "Leaders," he said when both aliens appeared on his screen. "I believe we need to respond to their message, but we must be careful. One wrong word could trigger an attack that would destroy us all." "What do you suggest?" asked Vexhai. "We send them what they want to hear. We acknowledge their power. We offer tribute. We show them that we understand who is in charge now." Koldes nodded sadly. "It hurts my pride to bow to invaders, but you're right. We have no choice. Our combined fleets couldn't scratch the paint on that monster they call a ship." "Then we're agreed," said Lorgenti. "We offer them our surrender before they decide to take it by force." Back in the Cathari fleet, Science Coordinator Reyna worked frantically to analyze every detail of the alien vessels. Her job was to find weaknesses, but so far she had found nothing that gave her hope. "The energy shields around their main ship are maintaining perfect stability," she reported to Fleet Commander Vexhai. "That suggests they have power to spare. They're not even trying to be energy efficient." "What about weapons?" "I can identify at least 40 different weapon systems on the main vessel alone. Some appear to be energy-based, others use projectiles. Several systems are so large they could be planet crackers." "Planet crackers?" "Weapons designed to destroy entire worlds, sir. The power levels required would be enormous, but these aliens clearly have enormous power." Vexhai closed his eyes and tried to stay calm. Planet crackers. The aliens had brought weapons that could destroy worlds to their first contact. This was definitely an invasion fleet. "Sir, the other species are ready to transmit their response message," reported his communications officer. "What are we offering them?" "Everything, sir. Resource rights to our outer planets, safe passage through our space, tribute payments, whatever they want, as long as they let our main worlds survive." The fleet commander looked out at the alien ships one more time. The massive vessels hung in space like sleeping dragons, beautiful and terrible. Soon the three species would send their message of surrender and hope that these powerful aliens would be merciful conquerors. "Send the message," he ordered. The transmission went out toward the human ships, carrying the desperate hopes of three alien races who believed they were facing the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had no idea that the humans were just as confused and worried as they were. Captain Li Wu-jin stood in the emergency council chamber aboard the Dihan Victory. Around the large table sat his senior officers, all looking confused and worried. The alien response message played on repeat from the speakers, though nobody fully understood what it meant. "Play it again, Jisoo," he said to Communications Officer Park G-Su. The strange sounds filled the room once more. The message contained mathematical sequences, star charts, and what appeared to be lists of numbers. But the tone sounded desperate, almost frightened. "Computer analysis suggests this is some kind of offering," said cultural specialist Song Hyrin. She had been working for hours to decode the alien transmission. "They're showing us resource locations, trade routes, and what might be tribute calculations." "Tribute?" asked Ambassador Choi Jae-sung. "Why would they offer us tribute? We haven't asked for anything." Dr. Nam So-young, the xenobiologist, leaned forward. "Maybe it's a cultural thing. Some species might offer gifts as part of first contact, rituals. Or maybe they think we're here to conquer them," suggested Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho from his tactical station. The room fell silent. Captain Lee looked around at his officers. "Why would they think that?" "Sir, look at it from their perspective," said Engineering Chief Yoon Tae-ho. "We arrive in the largest ship they've ever seen. Our escort vessel alone is bigger than their dreadnoughts. To them, we might look like an invasion fleet." Song Hyun brought up a comparison chart on the main display. The Dihan Victory appeared next to the largest alien ship. The size difference was dramatic, like comparing a whale to a goldfish. "They're scared of us," she said quietly. "That's why they're keeping their distance. That's why they're offering us resources. They think we're here to destroy them." Ambassador Choi stood up and paced around the room. "This is exactly what we wanted to avoid. First contact was supposed to be peaceful and friendly. Instead, we've terrified an entire civilization. How could we have known? Asked Captain Lee. We built our ships for long-range exploration and colonization. We need them to be large to carry everything we need for multi-year journeys. But to them, our exploration vessel looks like the ultimate weapon of war, said Dr. Nam So-Young. The captain walked to the viewing port and stared out at the alien fleet in the distance. Hundreds of small ships maintained their careful watch, staying millions of kilometers away from the human vessels. What exactly are they afraid of? He asked. Yun Tae-ho consulted his engineering displays. Well, sir, our main power core does put out enormous amounts of energy. To their sensors, we probably look like we could power an entire planet. Our mining lasers are designed to cut through asteroids, added Kim Min-ho. To them, those might look like planet-killer weapons. And our manufacturing facilities, said Song Hai-rin. We can build our own ships, equipment, even entire habitats. To a smaller civilization, that would seem like the technology of gods. Captain Lee turned back to his officers. So we accidentally built what they consider to be a superweapon? Not exactly, sir, said Yun Tae-ho. We built what we needed. But from their perspective, yes, we look like we could conquer their entire civilization without breaking a sweat. Dr. Bae Sunmi, the anthropologist, had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke up. Captain, I've been studying their ship movements. They're not just scared, they're organizing for surrender. Surrender? Look at the formations. They're not taking offensive or defensive positions. They're arranging themselves in what appears to be a formal submission pattern. 3 different species working together for the first time in their recorded history, all united by their fear of us. The weight of this realization settled over the room. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence was going terribly wrong through no fault of either side. Sir, I'm receiving another transmission, said Park Ji-soo. This one includes visual data. The main screen lit up with images of the 3 alien species. The Cathari looked like large, intelligent lizards with multiple eyes. The Vrelnari were purple-skinned with 4 arms. The Poskin resembled upright wolves with advanced technology. All 3 races appeared in what were clearly official governmental settings. They're showing us their leaders, said Ambassador Choi. This is their formal response to our first contact message. The visual message continued. It showed star charts, marking resource-rich systems, calculations of tribute payments, and what appeared to be offers of territorial concessions. The aliens were literally offering to give up parts of their territory to the humans. My God, whispered Song Hai-rin. They're offering us everything they have. Because they think we'll take it by force if they don't, said Captain Lee grimly. Dr. Nam So-young studied the biological data about the 3 species. Captain, these races evolved on smaller, lower-gravity worlds. Their resource bases are limited compared to Earth. To them, our ability to build something like the Daehan Victory would seem impossible unless we controlled vast interstellar empires. They think we're already a galaxy-spanning civilization, added Dr. Bae Sunmi. And this ship is just a tiny sample of our true power. The irony was overwhelming. Humanity had built large ships because Earth was a high-gravity world with abundant resources. Building big was efficient and practical for humans. But to aliens from smaller, resource-poor worlds, human engineering looked like the work of an unstoppable empire. Sir, what do we do? Asked Ambassador Choi. If we accept their offerings, we confirm their fears. If we refuse, they might think we're planning something worse. Captain Lee sat down heavily in his chair. We tell them the truth. We explain that we're explorers, not conquerors. We show them that our ship is a peaceful research vessel. Will they believe us? Asked Park Ji-soo. Would you? Replied the captain. If aliens arrived at Earth in ships 100 times larger than anything we could build, would you believe them if they said they were peaceful? The question hung in the air unanswered. Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho brought up tactical displays from the alien fleet. Sir, their behavior is becoming more organized. It looks like they're preparing for some kind of formal ceremony. What kind of ceremony? Based on the formation patterns, I think they're preparing to officially surrender their entire civilization to us. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Captain Lee's shoulders. 3 alien species representing billions of intelligent beings were about to surrender everything they had to humanity because they were terrified of human engineering capabilities. "All stop," he ordered. "Full power down of all non-essential systems. Shut down the mining lasers, the manufacturing facilities, everything that might look threatening." "Sir, that will leave us vulnerable if they decide to attack," warned Kim Min-ho. "They're not going to attack, they're too scared. We need to show them we're not a threat." Yoon Tai-ho began shutting down systems throughout the massive ship. "Power. Output dropping to minimum levels, sir. We're running on basic life support and propulsion only." "Good. Jisoo, prepare a detailed response message. We need to explain exactly what our ship is and what we're doing here." "What should I tell them, sir?" Captain Lee looked out at the alien fleet one more time. Somewhere out there, 3 different species were preparing to surrender their freedom to humanity. The first contact between humans and aliens had become a disaster of misunderstanding. "Tell them we're just travelers looking for friends," he said quietly. "Tell them we never wanted to scare anyone, and tell them we need their help to understand each other better." As the crew worked to prepare humanity's most important message, the Daehan Victory continued its slow journey through alien space. Behind them, hundreds of alien ships followed at their respectful distance, still believing they were witnessing the approach of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Neither side realized that the solution to their problem would require both species to completely change their understanding of what it meant to explore the stars. The message from the human ships changed everything. Captain Lorgenti of the Poscan fleet read the translation 3 times before he could believe what he was seeing. "They claim their ship is not a warship," he told Fleet Commander Vexhai and Supreme Arbiter Koldes during their emergency conference call. "They say it's a research and exploration vessel." Vexhai's 3 eyes blinked in disbelief. "A research vessel? That thing is 15 kilometers long." "According to their message, it carries 50,000 humans," continued Lorgenti, "but not just soldiers. They say it has families, children, scientists, and civilians." "Impossible," said Koldes firmly. "No species builds cities that can travel through space just for exploration. The resources required would be enormous." But even as the alien leaders struggled to accept the human explanation, more detailed information kept arriving. The humans had sent complete technical specifications of their ship, showing every section, and System.Science-Coordinator Reyna studied the data with growing amazement. "Fleet Commander," she called to Vexhai, "these readings, they're genuine. Look at this." The display screen showed a cross-section of the Daehan Victory. Massive. Sections were labeled as schools, hospitals, recreational areas, and living quarters. There were parks with trees and lakes built right into the ship's structure. Manufacturing areas sat next to research laboratories and cultural centers. "They really did build a traveling city," whispered Reyna. "It's not just a warship with weapons. It's a complete human society that can move between the stars." On his own ship, Supreme Arbiter Koldes was having the same realization. His science teams had analyzed the human technical data and found no deception. The massive human vessel really was exactly what they claimed, a self-contained civilization designed for long-range exploration. But why build something so large? He asked his advisors. "Sir," said his chief scientist, "I've been studying their homeworld data. Their planet has much higher gravity than ours. Resources are more abundant. What seems impossible to us might be normal engineering for them." The pieces began to fit together. Humans came from a world where building large structures was easier and more efficient. They had more metals, more energy sources, and stronger gravity that made their bones and muscles more powerful. To them, building a ship like the Daehan Victory wasn't a sign of military conquest. It was just good planning for a long journey. Captain Lorgenti made the first breakthrough in understanding. "They're not conquerors," he announced during the next 3-way conference. "They're refugees." "Refugees?" asked Vexhai. "Think about it. They built a ship that carries their entire society. They travel for months or years between stars. They're not conquering worlds. They're looking for new homes. This idea spread quickly through the three alien fleets. The humans weren't an invasion force. They were cosmic wanderers, carrying their civilization with them as they explored the galaxy in search of new worlds to settle. But understanding the truth and accepting it were two different things. The human ship was still impossibly large and powerful. Even if they were peaceful, they could easily destroy all three alien civilizations if they chose to. "We should accept their invitation," said Captain Lorgenti during the next leadership meeting. "What invitation?" asked Coldes. "They've offered to let representatives from our species visit their ship. They want to prove they're peaceful by showing us their society firsthand." The thought of boarding the massive human vessel terrified all three leaders, but they also realized it might be the only way to truly understand these strange aliens. Lore, quote, Yenti volunteered to go first. As the smallest and most agile of the three species, the Poskin might have the best chance of survival. If the humans turned out to be dangerous after all. 2 days later, a small Poskin shuttle approached the Dehun Victory. Captain Lorgenti piloted the craft himself, his heart pounding with fear and curiosity. The human ship grew larger and larger until it filled his entire view. He had never imagined that anything could be so huge. A bay opened in the side of the human vessel, easily, large enough to hold a dozen Poskin warships. Gentle lights guided his shuttle inside, and the bay sealed behind him. For a moment, Lorgenti thought he might never see his own ship again. Then the humans appeared. They were exactly as they had shown in their pictures, tall, pale-skinned beings with small eyes and no natural weapons. But when Lorgenti stepped out of his shuttle, he was surprised to see that they had prepared for his visit carefully. The humans had built a special breathing environment for him. They had studied Poskin biology and created a section of the docking bay with the right air mixture and gravity level for his comfort. Translator devices allowed them to speak with each other in real time. "Welcome aboard the Dehun Victory," said Ambassador Choi Jae-sung, the human diplomat. "We're honored to meet you, Captain Lorgenti." The Poskin looked around in wonder. Even this small docking bay was larger than his ship's main bridge, but it didn't feel threatening. It felt organized, practical, like a space designed by engineers who needed to move large amounts of cargo efficiently. "Your ship is very large," Lorgenti said carefully. "Yes, it has to be," replied Choi. "We need space for everyone who lives here. Would you like to see some of our residential areas?" As they traveled through the human ship, Lorgenti's understanding changed completely. The Dehun Victory wasn't a warship pretending to be peaceful. It really was a traveling city. They passed through neighborhoods where human families lived in comfortable apartments. Children played in parks built under artificial skies. Elderly humans tended gardens filled with plants from their distant homeworld. "How many people live here?" asked Lorgenti. "About 50,000, said Dr. B.A. Sunmi, the anthropologist who had joined their tour. Families, researchers, engineers, teachers, artists. Everyone needed to build a new colony when we find a suitable world." They visited a school where human children were learning about different alien species, including the Cathari, Vrelnari, and Poskin. The young humans were excited to meet their first real alien, asking Lorgenti dozens of questions about his homeworld and culture. "They're so curious," he said to Ambassador Choi. "Human children always are. They want to know everything about the universe." In the manufacturing sections, Lorgenti saw the truth about human weapons. The massive industrial systems weren't designed for war. They were designed for building colonies. The humans could manufacture everything from housing materials to farming equipment. Their planet-killer mining lasers were actually tools for extracting resources from asteroids and uninhabited worlds. "You really are explorers," he said with growing amazement. "That's what we've been trying to tell you," said Choi with a smile. "We're just looking for new places to live and new friends to meet along the way." The tour continued for hours. Lorgenti saw human artists working on sculptures and paintings. He visited research laboratories where scientists studied samples from dozens of different worlds. He ate lunch in a restaurant that served food grown in the ship's agricultural sections. By the end of his visit, Captain Lorgenti understood the truth. Humans didn't build large ships because they were aggressive conquerors. They built large ships because they were thorough planners. When humans decided to explore the galaxy, they brought everything they might need with them. Your people are methodical, he told Ambassador Choi as they returned to the docking bay. We like to be prepared, Choi replied. Space is dangerous and unpredictable. It's better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it. As Lorgenti piloted his shuttle back to his own fleet, his mind was full of new ideas. The humans weren't terrible conquerors. They were careful travelers. They had built their ship large because they planned for every possibility, not because they wanted to intimidate other species. When he reported back to Fleet Commander Vex High and Supreme Arbiter Koldes, his message was simple. We have nothing to fear from these humans. They're not conquerors, they're just very, very careful explorers. The news spread quickly through the three alien fleets. Representatives from the Cathari and Vrelnari species requested their own visits to the human ship. Soon, the fear that had gripped three civilizations began to transform into curiosity and wonder. The humans weren't monsters from their nightmares. They were just aliens who built things much bigger than anyone had imagined possible. And they were genuinely happy to make new friends among the stars. 6 months after first contact, the Kepler 442 system had become the busiest place in known space. Ships from 3 alien species moved freely alongside human vessels, and the fear that had once gripped the region had transformed into excitement and opportunity. Admiral Yi Sora stood on the bridge of the newly arrived colony ship New Sol, watching as construction crews from 4 different species worked together to build humanity's first settlement on Kepler 442d. The sight still amazed her. Cathari engineers using their multiple eyes to spot structural problems, Vrelnari workers using their forearms to handle complex assembly tasks, and Poscan scouts using their keen senses to survey the land, all working alongside human colonists who had volunteered to make this world their new home. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. From the Dihan Victory, reported Communications Officer Kang Ji-woo. Put it through. Captain Lee Woo-jin's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, the familiar bridge of the massive exploration vessel buzzed with activity. Sora, good to see you arrived safely. How are the colonists settling in? Better than expected, Woo-jin. The locals have been incredibly helpful. The Cathari gave us detailed geological surveys of the entire continent. The Vrelnari shared their atmospheric processors to help us adapt the air composition, and the Poscan have been teaching our children about the local wildlife. Admiral Yi looked out at the growing settlement below. Human families were moving into their new homes while alien children played with human kids in the streets. It was the peaceful first contact that everyone had hoped for, even if it had started with terror and confusion. Any problems with the integration? Asked Captain Lee. Surprisingly few. Director Park Min-jung has done excellent work at the Cultural Exchange Center. She's got humans learning alien languages and aliens learning Korean. Yesterday, I saw a Cathari child trying to use chopsticks, while a human girl was learning to eat with Cathari feeding tendrils. The Cultural Exchange Center had been one of the first buildings completed in the new settlement. Built jointly by all 4 species, it served as a place where beings could learn about each other's customs, languages, and ways of thinking. Dr. Park Min-jung had become something of a celebrity among the aliens, who were fascinated by human cultural practices. What about the older tensions between the 3 species? Asked Captain Lee. Last I heard, they'd been fighting each other for centuries. That's the most remarkable part, said Admiral Yi. The shared experience of meeting humanity seems to have brought them together. Supreme Arbiter Koldes told me that the 3 species have signed their first permanent peace treaty. They're calling it the Unity Accords. It was true. The arrival of the massive human ship had given the 3 alien races a new perspective on their old conflicts. When faced with what they thought was an existential threat from an advanced civilization, petty territorial disputes had seemed unimportant. Now that they knew the humans were peaceful, they had decided to keep working together. "Sir, I'm getting reports from across the system," said Kang Ji-woo. "Human merchant ships are trading with alien colonies throughout the region. Our industrial replicators have solved resource shortages that have plagued these worlds for decades." This was another unexpected benefit of First Contact. Human manufacturing capabilities, which had once terrified the aliens, were now being used to help their civilizations prosper. The massive industrial systems aboard human ships could produce in days what it took alien factories months to manufacture. "And what are we getting in return?" asked Captain Lee. "Star charts, Wu Jin, detailed maps of this entire region of the galaxy, navigation data that would have taken us decades to collect on our own. The aliens have been exploring this area for thousands of years. They know every star system, every habitable world, every dangerous phenomenon to avoid." Fleet Commander Vexhai had been the most generous with information. The Cathari had mapped over 300 star systems, documenting dozens of worlds suitable for human colonization. In exchange for human industrial assistance, he had given humanity the keys to an entire region of space. Admiral, called Science Officer Nam So-young, from her station. "I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." "What do they say?" "They're sending the Exploration Fleet Magellan to our location, 12 colony ships and their escorts. Earth wants to begin full-scale expansion into this region." Admiral Yi smiled. The success of First Contact in the Kepler 442 system had convinced Earth's leadership that humanity was ready for major interstellar expansion. The alien star charts would guide human ships to dozens of new worlds, while the friendship of 3 local species would provide safety and support for new colonies. "Tell Earth Command that we'll be ready to receive them," she said. "And tell them to bring plenty of cultural specialists. We're going to need them." On the surface of Kepler 442d, elder diplomat Lim Kyung-ho was putting the finishing touches on humanity's most important document since the United Nations Charter. The Kepler Accords would formally establish the first interstellar alliance between 4 intelligent species. Article 7, he read to the assembled alien leaders. "All signers agree to share scientific knowledge for the betterment of all species. Human industrial capabilities will be used to assist alien worlds in need, while alien navigational expertise will guide human exploration efforts." Captain Lorganti nodded his approval. "This is acceptable to the Pascan people." "The Cathari agree," said Fleet Commander Vexahai. "And the Vrelnari give their consent," added Supreme Arbiter Colquote. Des. The signing ceremony took place aboard the Daehan Victory, in the same chamber where the crew had first struggled to understand alien intentions 6 months earlier. Representatives from all 4 species placed their marks on the historic document, officially creating the Kepler Alliance. "Today," said elder diplomat Lim, 4 species become one family among the stars." The celebration that followed lasted for 3 days. Human musicians played alongside alien artists. Cathari chefs prepared meals using Vrelnari spices and human vegetables grown in Pascan soil. Children from all 4 species played games that none of their parents had ever imagined possible. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came when a young human girl named Kim Hee-jin gave a drawing to Fleet Commander Vexhai. The picture showed the Daehan Victory surrounded by small alien ships with the words, "Thank you for being our friends," written in careful Korean characters. The old Cathari commander, who had once trembled with fear at the sight of human vessels, carefully hung the drawing in his private quarters. It reminded him of how first impressions could be wrong, and how the most terrifying encounters could become the most wonderful friendships. As the celebration continued, more human ships arrived in the system. Colony vessels, research ships, and cargo haulers joined the growing fleet around Kepler 442. But now, instead of causing panic, each new arrival was greeted with curiosity and excitement. The aliens had learned that human ships were large not because humans were aggressive, but because they were thorough. When humans traveled, they brought everything they might need: families, schools, hospitals, factories, farms, and entertainment centers. They didn't just visit other worlds. They created new homes among the stars. In return, the three alien species had become humanity's guides to the galaxy. Their knowledge of local space conditions, dangerous regions, and habitable worlds was priceless to human explorers. More importantly, their friendship had given humanity something it had never expected to find: proof that intelligence and goodwill existed throughout the universe. 6 months after the terror of first contact, 4 species looked forward to a future of shared exploration and mutual prosperity. The massive human ships that had once seemed like harbingers of doom had become symbols of hope and cooperation. And in the deep spaces between the stars, other civilizations detected the radio chatter between Kepler 442 and Earth. They learned that the giant ships belonged to a species called humans, who built large vessels not for war, but for carrying their families safely between worlds. The news spread through the galaxy. Humanity was coming to the stars, and they were looking for friends.